Couple gets lost in amusement park. 6 years later, he sees her walking down the street. Nathan Parker felt the world stop when that face crossed his line of sight. It was impossible, after all this time, after so many sleepless nights imagining this moment. But there she was, walking hurriedly along the crowded sidewalk in downtown New York City, as if the last 6 years had never happened. She was carrying a child in her arms, a little girl with dark hair and messy curls, who appeared to be exactly the age of the years they had been apart. Nathan's heart raced so violently that he had to lean his hand against the store wall beside him. "Excuse me, sir. Are you all right?" asked a passing elderly woman. Nathan didn't even respond. His eyes couldn't stray from that figure rapidly moving away in the opposite direction. Emily. After all this time, it was really Emily Wilson, the woman who had promised to wait for him on that cursed day at Harmony Park. Without thinking twice, he began to follow her. His legs moved automatically, dodging pedestrians and street vendors, while keeping enough distance to remain unnoticed. The blue sweater he wore was soaked with sweat, even though it was a relatively cool October afternoon. Emily entered a small diner on the corner of Fifth Avenue. Nathan stopped across the street, watching through the window as she sat at one of the back tables. The child began playing with the woman's braids, and he saw Emily smile in that way she used to smile at him. A sharp pain shot through his chest. She had moved on. She had started a family. She had a daughter. And he, fool that he was, still carried in his wallet the photo of the two of them taken on that fateful day. He was about to leave when he saw another woman enter the diner. Taller, with short hair dyed red, she approached Emily's table with a wide smile. The two hugged, and Nathan watched intently as they chatted animatedly. Then something happened that made him freeze. The child turned to the red-haired woman and said something Nathan couldn't hear, but what he saw was unmistakable. The little girl stretched her arms toward the newcomer and clearly said something that sounded like "Mommy." It couldn't be. Nathan crossed the street almost without looking, ignoring the angry horn of a taxi. He needed to understand what was happening. He needed to know. When he pushed the diner door open, the bell above it rang, making several heads turn, including Emily's. Her face lost all color. Her brown eyes widened in a way Nathan knew well. That same way when she was about to have an anxiety attack. She stood up so abruptly that she almost knocked over the chair. "Emily." Nathan's voice came out hoarse, laden with 6 years of unanswered questions. She looked around desperately, like a cornered animal searching for an escape. The red-haired woman stood up too, positioning herself protectively between Nathan and Emily. "Who are you?" asked the woman, her voice firm but not hostile. Nathan swallowed dryly, his eyes fixed on Emily. "We know each other. It's been a long time." "I need to go." Emily's voice came out trembling, almost inaudible. She grabbed her bag with shaking hands and began to move away from the table, but Nathan stepped forward, instinctively blocking her path. "Please, just give me a minute. Just 1 minute to explain." "Explain what?" For the first time, Emily looked directly at him, and Nathan saw in her eyes a mixture of pain and anger that made him step back. "You had 6 years to explain, Nathan. 6 years." The red-haired woman looked from one to the other, clearly confused. The child, sensing the tension, began to pout. "Auntie, why are you nervous?" asked the little girl. "Auntie, not Mom." Nathan felt a wave of relief so intense he almost laughed. But he held back when he saw Emily's warning look. "Emily, please." He lowered his voice, aware that other customers in the diner were watching. "I didn't abandon you that day. You need to hear me out." "Katie, could you take Lily outside for a minute?" Emily asked the red-haired woman, without taking her eyes off Nathan. Katie hesitated but picked up the child and left the diner, not without first giving her sister a protective look. Because it was obvious they were sisters, Nathan realized now. They had the same face shape, the same delicate gestures when speaking. As soon as they were relatively alone, Emily crossed her arms over her chest, that defensive gesture she always made when she was emotionally protecting herself. "You have 2 minutes." Her voice was firmer now, but Nathan could see her hands trembling. "I got stuck." The words came out in a rushed burst. "In the Ferris wheel elevator. There was an electrical failure, and I was stuck up there for over 3 hours. Emily laughed, but it was a bitter laugh without humor. You expect me to believe that? You just disappeared, Nathan. I waited. I waited until the park closed, until the security guards asked me to leave. You didn't show up. You didn't call. You didn't text. Nothing. My phone died. Nathan pulled the device from his pocket, as if that could somehow prove something. And when they finally got me out, it was after midnight. I went back to the meeting point, but you were already gone. Of course I was already gone. Emily's voice rose a pitch. It was 11 at night, Nathan. 11 at night, and you left me waiting there alone since 6 in the evening. I didn't leave you. I was stuck. Stuck where no one could see you. Stuck where no one could tell me. She shook her head, and Nathan saw tears forming in the corners of her eyes. You know what's worse? You were going to propose to me that day. You had told me in the morning that you had a special surprise, and I was so stupid I believed it. The words hit Nathan like punches. She knew. Somehow she had guessed his plans. You knew I was going to propose? I didn't know for sure, but I hoped. I prayed that was it. A tear rolled down Emily's face. And then you didn't show up, and I thought I had misinterpreted everything, that you had changed your mind and didn't have the courage to tell me. No. Nathan stepped closer, but stopped when he saw her retreat. It wasn't like that at all. Emily, I loved you. I still... No. She raised her hand, cutting him off. Don't say that. Not now. Not after all this time. The diner door opened, and Katie came in again, still carrying Lily. The little girl had her eyes fixed on Nathan with that unfiltered curiosity only young children possess. Are you making Auntie cry? Asked Lily, her voice thin but accusatory. No, sweetie. Emily quickly wiped away her tears. Auntie is just talking. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing... Katie approached carefully, her eyes studying Nathan attentively. Then, suddenly her face changed. Her eyes widened in recognition. Wait, I know you. She looked at Emily, then back at Nathan. You're the guy from the photo, the guy Emily kept for years. Nathan felt his heart speed up again. She had kept a photo of him for years. Katie, no. Emily tried to protest, but her sister was already speaking again. You're Nathan, the guy from the amusement park. Katie shook her head in disbelief. My God, after all this time. Did you talk about me? Nathan looked at Emily, who was now visibly uncomfortable. It's none of your business. Emily picked up her purse again. Katie, let's go. No, wait. Katie turned to Nathan. What are you doing here? Why show up now? I saw her on the street. By chance, Nathan ran his hand through his hair, trying to gather his thoughts. I never stopped looking for her. In the first few months, I went back to that park every weekend. I went to her house, but she had moved. Because I couldn't live in that place anymore. Emily's voice was low now, almost a whisper. Everything reminded me of you. Everything reminded me of that awful day. The child started to squirm in Katie's arms, wanting to get down. When her little feet touched the ground, she ran straight to Nathan and grabbed his leg. You're handsome, said Lily, looking up with a gap-toothed smile. Can you be my friend? Nathan looked at the girl, then at Emily, and felt his heart break a little more. He crouched down, meeting Lily at eye level. Of course I can. He smiled, trying not to let the emotion overflow. What's your name? Lily Wilson Taylor. I'm 5.5. She proudly showed the fingers of her hand. My mom is that one over there. She pointed at Katie. And this is my coolest aunt in the whole world. Katie rolled her eyes but smiled. Emily, on the other hand, seemed to be struggling with herself, torn between wanting to run away and staying to hear more. Lily has special needs, Katie explained quietly. She has Down syndrome, and Emily works as her caregiver during the week while I'm at work. I help Auntie stay happy, Lily announced with all the seriousness a 5-year-old can muster. Because sometimes she gets very sad. She cries at night when she thinks I'm sleeping. Lily, Emily scolded gently, but the child just shrugged. It's true, Auntie. You cry and look at that picture on your nightstand. The silence that followed was heavy. Nathan could see Emily fighting back tears, while Katie seemed unsure whether to intervene or not. It was Nathan who finally broke the silence. I cried too, many times. He was still crouched, but his eyes were fixed on Emily. I looked for you everywhere we used to go. I went back to that ice cream shop you loved, that square where we used to sit to watch the sunset. I asked all the mutual friends we had. I distanced myself from everyone, Emily admitted softly. I couldn't handle the questions, the pity in people's eyes. I left letters at your old house, Nathan continued. 5 letters, 1 a month for the first 5 months, explaining what had happened, asking you to contact me. Katie and Emily exchanged a look. We never received any letters, Katie said slowly. Emily moved into an apartment with me right after that day. The new residents of the old house probably threw them away. Nathan finished, feeling a weight settle in his chest. Or never forwarded them. Lily had grown tired of the adults' conversation and was now exploring the snack bar, looking curiously at the other customers. An elderly couple at the next table smiled tenderly at her. Why are you here, Nathan? Emily finally asked, her voice tired. After 6 years, why show up now? Because I never stopped loving you. The words came out before he could think to hold them back. Because not a single day has gone by without me thinking about you, without me wondering what you were doing, if you were happy, if you had found someone who made you smile the way I used to. That's not fair. Emily shook her head, fresh tears falling. You can't just show up after all this time and say these things. I know. Nathan stood up, keeping a respectful distance. I know it's not fair, but when I saw you there on the street with Lily in your arms, I needed to know. I needed to understand if you had managed to move on, if you had found the happiness I so wanted to give you. Move on? Emily let out a humorless laugh. Nathan, that day didn't just change our relationship. It changed everything in me. She took a deep breath before continuing, as if gathering courage. I developed panic disorder after that day. I couldn't leave the house without having anxiety attacks. I couldn't trust anyone, not even myself. It took years of therapy just to be able to walk down the street without feeling like I was about to faint. Nathan felt as if someone had pulled the ground out from under his feet. I didn't know. I never meant to. I know you didn't mean to. Emily wiped her tears with the back of her hand. But it happened, and I had to learn to live with it. I had to rebuild my entire life from scratch. Katie approached her sister, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. The gesture was so full of love and protection that Nathan felt a pang of jealousy that he couldn't be the one offering that comfort. Maybe we should sit down, Katie suggested gently. People are staring, and this conversation seems far from over. Emily hesitated, but finally agreed. They sat at the same table where Emily and Katie had been before, with Lily hopping between chairs, with the tireless energy of a child. The diner owner, an older man with graying hair and a prominent belly, came over to take their orders. Nathan ordered a black coffee, Emily a chamomile tea, and Katie an orange juice for Lily. Do you want anything to eat? The man asked, but they all shook their heads no. When the owner walked away, Nathan pulled his phone from his pocket. His hands trembled slightly as he opened the photo gallery and searched for something specific. Look at this. He turned the screen to Emily. It was an old screenshot of messages that were never sent. Dozens of them, all time-stamped between 6:30 in the evening and midnight of that fateful day. All to Emily. Love, I'm stuck in the Ferris wheel elevator. I can't get down. Please don't leave. I'm trying to get out of here. Emily, for God's sake, answer the phone. They said they'll get me out of here, but it's taking too long. I love you. Please wait for me. The messages continued, each more desperate than the last. Emily read with wide eyes, her breathing getting faster. There was no signal up there, Nathan explained. The phone showed it was sending, but nothing went through. When I finally got signal again, it was too late. You had already turned off your phone. I turned it off because you weren't answering my calls, Emily whispered. I called more than 50 times. With every call that went straight to voicemail, I felt my heart breaking a little more. Katie took Nathan's phone and read the messages carefully. Her face softened as she read. My God, Emily. He really was stuck. But how do I know if this is true? Emily looked at Nathan with a mixture of wanting to believe and fear of getting hurt again. How can I be sure you didn't create these messages later, just to have an excuse? Nathan felt the accusation like a slap. But he couldn't blame her for the distrust. He had disappeared on the most important day of their lives. You want proof? His voice came out harsher than he intended. What do you want me to do, Emily? Go back in time and fix everything? I just wanted you to have shown up. Tears streamed freely down her face now. I just wish you had been there, like you promised. Lily, noticing her aunt's crying, came closer and climbed onto Emily's lap, hugging her with her tiny arms. Don't cry, Auntie. When we cry, our hearts feel all tight. Grandma taught me that. Emily held her niece tightly, hiding her face in the girl's hair. Katie looked at Nathan with an expression that was part sympathy, part warning. Our mother always said some things in life happen to teach us something. Katie spoke slowly. Maybe you two needed to go through this to... To what? Emily interrupted her, her voice muffled. To learn that fate is cruel, that we can't trust happiness? To learn to appreciate what you have. A new voice joined the conversation. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was an elderly lady sitting a few tables away, a simple-looking woman with white hair tied in a bun and deep wrinkles around her eyes. She stood up with some difficulty and approached their table. Sorry for intruding, the lady said with a gentle smile. But I couldn't help overhearing your conversation, and I think you need to hear something important. With all due respect, ma'am, this is a private matter. Katie began to protest, but the lady raised her hand. I know, dear. But you see, I'm 72 years old. I was married for 50 years to the man I loved. And do you know how many times we almost lost each other due to misunderstandings, pride, or fear? No one answered. The lady continued. Countless times. But do you know what saved our marriage every single time? Communication, truth, and the willingness to forgive, even when it seemed impossible. He didn't show up on the most important day of my life, Emily said, her voice trembling. How can I just forgive that? Because he's here now. The lady pointed at Nathan. 6 years later, he's still looking for you. Doesn't that count for anything? Nathan looked at the lady with gratitude in his eyes but said nothing. Emily, in turn, seemed to be fighting an internal battle with herself. You've lost 6 years together, the lady continued. Do you really want to lose the rest of your lives because of one bad day? With those words, she returned to her table, leaving a heavy silence behind. The diner owner brought the drinks, and for a few minutes everyone just sat in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. It was Lily who finally broke the silence. Auntie, can he come play with us at the park tomorrow? The girl looked at Nathan with hopeful eyes. He seems nice. Lily, it doesn't work like that. Emily tried to explain gently. Why not? The child asked with that simple logic only children possess. If you like him and he likes you, you can be friends again. It's more complicated than that, sweetheart. But it doesn't have to be, Lily insisted. The teacher said when we hurt someone by accident, we say sorry and everything's okay again. Nathan couldn't help a sad smile. If only it were that simple. Lily has a point, Katie said slowly. I'm not saying you should just forget everything and start dating again, but maybe you need proper closure, a real conversation, without anger, without hurt, just honesty. I don't know if I can, Emily admitted. Just looking at him, I feel everything coming back. All the pain, all the disappointment. But also all the love, Nathan said softly. I know you still feel it, Emily. I see it in your eyes. Before Emily could respond, the diner door opened again, and a tall man with broad shoulders and short-cut hair entered. He looked around until his eyes landed on Emily, and a smile formed on his face. Love, sorry I'm late. The traffic was impossible. The man approached the table, and only then seemed to notice Nathan. His smile faltered. Hi, I didn't know you had company. Emily became visibly tense. Katie bit her lip, clearly uncomfortable. and Nathan felt his stomach drop. "Michael, this is Nathan. An old acquaintance." Emily made the introductions with a hesitant voice. "Nathan, this is Michael, my fiancé." The word landed like a bomb. Fiancé. Emily was engaged. After everything, after saying she couldn't trust anyone, she had found someone and was going to get married. Nathan felt as if all the air had been sucked from his lungs. He tried to smile, tried to seem normal, but knew he was failing miserably. "Nice to meet you." He extended his hand mechanically, and Michael shook it with a perhaps slightly excessive force. "Likewise." Michael looked from Nathan to Emily, a furrow of concern forming between his eyebrows. "How do you two know each other?" "From college," Emily answered too quickly. "We studied together many years ago." It was a lie. They had met at a volunteer event, not in college, but Nathan understood the message. She didn't want Michael to know the truth. "I see." Michael pulled a chair and sat beside Emily, wrapping a possessive arm around her shoulders. "What a coincidence, you meeting after so long." "Yes, a big coincidence," Katie agreed, but there was tension in her voice. Lily looked from one man to the other with childlike curiosity. "Are you Uncle Michael?" she asked, and when the man nodded, she continued, "Do you know Auntie cried today? Nathan made her cry." "Lily," Emily and Katie said at the same time, but the damage was done. Michael turned to Nathan, his eyes darkening. "You made my fiancée cry?" "It was a misunderstanding," Nathan tried to explain, but Michael was already standing up. "I think it's better if you leave." "Michael, calm down," Emily placed a hand on his arm. "It's not what you're thinking." "Then what is it?" Michael looked at her, confusion and jealousy battling on his face. "Who is this guy, Emily? For real?" The silence that followed was deafening. Emily looked at Nathan, then at Michael, and Nathan could see the internal struggle happening within her. "He's someone I met a long time ago," she finally said. "Someone who was important to me, but who stayed in the past." The words hurt more than Nathan expected. Stayed in the past. As if all those years of love, all those plans for the future, were just a footnote in her life. "I was just leaving anyway." Nathan stood up, grabbing his backpack. "It was good to see you, Emily. Katie, Lily." He looked at Michael. "Take good care of her. She deserves to be happy." He was almost at the door when he heard Emily's voice. "Nathan, wait." He turned, his heart racing with a hope he knew was foolish. Emily had stood up too, leaving Lily with Katie. She approached him, and Nathan could see Michael watching her every move with attentive eyes. "I just wanted to say that—" She paused, as if carefully choosing her words. "Thank you for looking for me, for trying to explain. I don't know if it changes anything, but at least now I know the truth." "Does it change anything?" Nathan asked softly, just for her to hear. "For you?" Emily looked back at Michael waiting at the table, and then back at Nathan. "I don't know," she admitted. "I honestly don't know." And with that she returned to the table, leaving Nathan alone with his tumultuous thoughts. He left the cafe in a daze, barely noticing where he was going. His feet automatically led him to the subway, and he boarded the first train that arrived. It was only when he was sitting in the nearly empty car that reality truly hit him. Emily was going to marry another man. After 6 years dreaming of a reunion, imagining 1,000 different scenarios of what it would be like to see her again, he had never considered that she might have moved on, or maybe he knew deep down, but refused to accept it. Nathan took his wallet out of his pocket and opened the secret compartment. There, wrapped in tissue paper yellowed with time, was a small silver ring with a modest solitaire. The ring he had bought 6 years ago with all his intern savings. The ring that should have gone on Emily's finger that day in Harmony Park. He had never been able to get rid of it. He had tried several times. He had gone to jewelry stores to sell it, stood in front of public trash cans holding it, trying to find the courage to throw it away. But he always ended up taking it back home, because as long as he had the ring, there was still hope. Or at least that's what he had convinced himself. The train stopped at the Tribeca station, and Nathan got off more out of habit than conscious intention. He had lived there for 3 years, in a small one-bedroom apartment that barely had any furniture. He never saw the point in decorating, in making the place a home. It was just where he slept and showered. When he entered the apartment, Nathan went straight to the mini-fridge and grabbed a beer. He wasn't much of a drinker, but that night seemed to require an exception. He dropped onto the worn-out sofa and turned on the TV, more for the noise than any real interest in watching something. But his thoughts kept returning to the diner, to Emily's face when she saw him, to the tears in her eyes, to Michael's arm around her. His phone vibrated in his pocket. For a crazy second, Nathan thought it might be Emily, but it was just a message from the weekend soccer group asking if he was playing on Saturday. He tossed the phone on the sofa beside him without replying. Soccer was the last thing on his mind now. Nathan spent the rest of the night alternating between the beer and memories of Emily. He remembered the first time they met, at a food distribution event for people experiencing homelessness. Emily was organizing the donations, her hair in a messy ponytail, sweat stains on her white volunteer t-shirt. She had smiled at him when he offered help, a smile so genuine and warm that Nathan felt his heart skip a beat. They spent the whole afternoon working side by side, talking about everything and nothing at the same time. At the end of the day, he had mustered the courage to ask for her number, and to his surprise and joy she had given it. They started dating soon after. Nothing too elaborate at first, just quick coffees between classes, walks around the city, conversations that stretched into the early hours. But within 3 months, Nathan knew he was completely in love. And she seemed to feel the same. She looked at him with those brown eyes full of love, held his hand as if she never wanted to let go, laughed at his bad jokes as if they were the funniest thing in the world. When they reached their 1-year anniversary, Nathan already knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. He started saving money for a ring, planning every detail of the marriage proposal. He chose Harmony Park because it had been where they shared their first kiss, on a cold July night, after a concert by an indie band Emily loved. They had ridden the Ferris wheel, and when the cabin stopped at the very top, with the entire city lit up below them, Nathan had leaned in and kissed her. It was perfect, magical, everything a first kiss should be, so it felt natural that he would ask for her hand in the same place. He had planned everything. He would take her to dinner first, something simple but special. Then, as the sun was setting, they would go to the park. He had hired an undercover photographer to capture the moment, and there at the top of the Ferris wheel with the city at their feet, he would kneel and ask if she would be his wife. But nothing had gone as planned. Nathan remembered every detail of that cursed day. He had arrived at the park early to make sure everything was in order. The photographer was there. The ring was in his pocket. His heart was beating so hard he thought he would have a heart attack. Then he decided to take a quick walk around the park while waiting for Emily to arrive. And he saw the Ferris wheel, the same one where they had kissed for the first time. He thought about taking a look, seeing the view from the top, visualizing the perfect moment. It was the worst decision of his life. He entered the cabin and the attendant closed the door. The wheel began to turn, taking him upward. But when the cabin was almost at the top, everything stopped. The lights went out, and Nathan was stuck up there, in a glass cabin under the scorching October sun. At first he thought it was just a temporary pause. These things happened at amusement parks, right? In 5 minutes it would be running again. But 5 minutes became 10. 10 became 20. He tried to call Emily, but there was no signal. He shouted for help, but the park was too noisy, and he was too far away for anyone to hear him clearly. That's when the panic really set in. He looked at his watch. 6:15. Emily would arrive in 45 minutes. He had to get out of there. But he couldn't. The cabin remained stuck up there, swaying slightly in the wind. Nathan could see the people down below, living their normal lives, completely unaware of his despair. At 6:45 he saw Emily entering the park. She looked beautiful, wearing that blue dress he loved so much, her hair loose and falling over her shoulders. She looked around, searching for him. Nathan banged on the cabin glass, screamed her name until he was hoarse. But she was too far away, she couldn't hear him. He saw her going to the agreed meeting spot, near the cotton candy stand. He saw her checking her phone, probably seeing his missed calls. He saw her calling back and felt his own phone vibrating uselessly in his hand with no battery to answer. It was torture. Pure torture to watch the woman he loved waiting for him while he was trapped just yards away, unable to reach her. The hours passed. Nathan saw Emily sit on a bench. He saw her get up several times to look around. He saw the sky darken and the park lights come on. And he saw, finally, Emily get up and leave, her shoulders slumped in defeat. It was only after 10 at night that the technicians finally managed to fix the electrical failure and free Nathan. He stepped out of the cabin on shaky legs and with a broken heart and ran to the meeting spot. But she was already gone. Of course she was. Who would wait more than 4 hours for someone? Nathan had tried to call her immediately, but her phone was off. He went to her house, but no one was there. He went back the next day, and the next, and the next. But Emily was never there. It was Katie who finally answered the door weeks later. She looked at Nathan with a mix of pity and anger. "She doesn't want to talk to you. She doesn't want to see you. Please leave my sister alone." And Nathan had left, because what else could he do? If Emily didn't want to hear him, didn't want his explanations, he had no right to force her. But he never stopped loving her. He never stopped looking for her, even if only with his eyes, every time he was in a crowd. He never stopped hoping that one day, somehow, he would get the chance to explain. And today he did. And it was useless, because she was engaged to another man. Nathan finished his beer and crushed the empty can. He stood up unsteadily, more emotionally drained than physically, and went to the bedroom. He collapsed onto the bed without bothering to take off his clothes or turn off the light. As he stared at the cracked ceiling, a single question echoed in his mind. What now? The phone rang, pulling Nathan from a restless sleep full of nightmares. He fumbled on the nightstand until he found the device, squinting at the screen. 7 in the morning. And an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something, maybe a hunch, maybe just curiosity, made him slide his finger across the screen. "Hello?" His voice came out hoarse from sleep and emotional hangover. "Nathan?" It was a woman's voice, but not the one he was hoping for. "It's me, Katie, Emily's sister." Nathan sat up immediately, fully awake now. "Katie? How did you get my number?" Emily still had it saved. There was a pause. "Look, I need to talk to you, in person. Can you meet me in an hour?" "About what? Is Emily okay?" "She's complicated." Katie sighed. "I can't talk about it over the phone. Please, can you come?" Nathan was already getting up, searching for clean clothes. "Where?" "Do you know Union Square? There's a coffee shop on the corner, Book and Brew. I'll meet you there at 8. "I'll be there." The call ended, leaving Nathan with more questions than answers. He took a quick shower, put on the first clothes he found, and rushed out of the apartment. The subway was packed at that time of the morning, full of workers heading to their jobs. Nathan squeezed in among the passengers, his mind racing faster than the train. Why did Katie want to talk to him? What had happened to Emily? Had she told Michael about their past? He arrived at Union Square 5 minutes early and easily found the coffee shop. It was a small, cozy place with walls lined with shelves full of books. Katie was already there, sitting at a table near the window. She waved when she saw him, and Nathan joined her. A waitress came to take their order, and Nathan asked for a simple black coffee. Katie already had a half-finished cappuccino in front of her. "Thanks for coming," Katie started as soon as the waitress walked away. "I know this is weird, but I needed to talk to you. About Emily. About everything." Katie sighed, stirring her cappuccino absent-mindedly. "Look, I never met you before yesterday. Everything I knew about you came from what Emily told me over the years." "And what did she say?" "In the beginning. Everything. She wouldn't stop talking about you, about how you met, about the places you visited together, about how you made her laugh. She was completely in love." Nathan felt a tightness in his chest. "And after that day in the park? After that day, she never said your name again." Katie looked directly at him. "At least not until last night." "What happened last night?" "She and Michael had a fight. Katie revealed. A bad one. He demanded to know who you really were, why you had made her cry, and she told him everything. And? And he didn't take it well. He said if she still had feelings for you, then maybe they needed to rethink the marriage. Katie shook her head. They've been together for 3 months, engaged for 3 weeks, and last night was the first time I heard Michael raise his voice at her. Nathan didn't know how to feel about that. Part of him was relieved that Emily's relationship wasn't as solid as it seemed, but the bigger, better part of him hated that he was the cause of trouble for her. I didn't mean to cause this, he said sincerely. If I had known she was engaged, I would have what, not spoken to her? Katie interrupted him. Nathan, I saw her face when she saw you. I saw her hands shaking. I saw how she had to fight not to break down right there in front of everyone. And what are you trying to say? That she still feels something for you, something strong, even after 6 years, even after everything that happened. Katie leaned forward. But she's afraid. Afraid of what? Of getting hurt again, of trusting and being disappointed. Katie sighed. You need to understand, Nathan. That day in the park destroyed something inside her. It wasn't just about you not showing up. It was about all her insecurities coming to the surface at once, about feeling like she wasn't good enough to be loved, that she would always be left behind. But I didn't leave her. I never meant to. I know. And now she knows too. But rational knowledge and emotional feeling are 2 different things. Katie picked up her phone and scrolled for a moment before showing something to Nathan. It was a picture of Emily, clearly taken without her knowing. She was sitting on the bed, with Lily sleeping beside her. But what caught Nathan's attention was the photo Emily was holding in her hands, a picture of 2 young people smiling at the camera, hugging. Him and Emily, 6 years ago. She looks at this picture every night before going to sleep, Katie said softly. I know, because sometimes I catch her doing it. She thinks no one knows, but I do. Nathan felt his eyes burning. He blinked quickly, trying to hold back the tears. Why are you telling me this? Because my sister deserves to be happy. Truly happy. Katie put her phone away. And I don't think she's happy with Michael. She likes him, yes. He's a good guy, stable, secure. But she doesn't love him. Not the way she loved you. So, what do I do? Honestly, I don't know, Katie admitted. But I think you 2 need to have a real conversation, without Michael there, without me, without Lily. Just the 2 of you, being honest about what you feel and what you want. Will she want that? If you ask, yes. Katie smiled slightly. She might be scared, but she's not a coward. She'll listen to what you have to say. What she does with that information after, well, that's up to her. Nathan's coffee arrived, and he took a sip, using the moment to gather his thoughts. How do I get in touch with her? I'll give you the address of the apartment. Katie was already writing something on a napkin. But not today. Give it a few days for things to cool down between her and Michael. And when you go, be prepared to be completely honest. Hiding nothing, not afraid to be vulnerable. She slid the napkin across the table. Nathan picked it up and carefully put it in his pocket. Katie, why are you doing this? Why are you helping me? Because I've watched my sister suffer for 6 years, Katie answered simply. I've seen her have panic attacks in the middle of the night. I've seen her afraid to leave the house. I've seen her rebuild her life brick by brick, and it was painful to watch. She paused before continuing. But I also saw the way she looked at you yesterday, and that look had something I hadn't seen in years. Hope. Even with all the fear, all the pain, there was hope. Nathan didn't know what to say. He just nodded, trying to process everything Katie was saying. And Nathan? Katie stood up to leave. Don't let her down again. She won't survive another disappointment. With those heavy words, Katie left the coffee shop, leaving Nathan alone with his coffee and his turbulent thoughts. The next few days were torture for Nathan. He carried the napkin with Emily's address in his pocket all the time, compulsively taking it out to read and reread, as if the words could change. He tried to distract himself with work. Nathan was a freelance graphic designer, working mostly from home, but he couldn't focus on any project. Every logo he tried to create seemed dull. Every layout he put together felt wrong. On Tuesday, 3 days after the meeting at the coffee shop, Nathan finally decided he couldn't wait any longer. He needed to see Emily. He needed to talk to her. The address Katie had given led to a modest building in Brooklyn Heights, a middle-class neighborhood in western New York City. Nathan stood in front of the building for long minutes, gathering courage. Finally, he pressed the buzzer for apartment 304. "Who is it?" Emily's voice came through the intercom, and Nathan felt his heart race. "It's me, Nathan. I know I'm showing up unannounced, but Katie said that maybe you wanted to talk." There was a long silence. Nathan was beginning to think she wouldn't answer when he heard the buzz of the door opening. He climbed the stairs on shaky legs. The third-floor hallway was poorly lit, with a slight smell of mold. The door to 304 was slightly ajar. Nathan knocked lightly before pushing it open further. Emily was standing in the living room, wearing a large sweatshirt and pajama pants. Her hair was tied in a messy bun, and there were deep, dark circles under her eyes. "Hi," was all Nathan could say. "Hi," Emily replied, equally awkward. They stood there, looking at each other across the small but well-kept room. Nathan noticed the photos on the wall, mostly of Emily with Lily. There was also a large photo of Emily, Katie, and an older woman who was probably their mother. "Do you want to sit?" Emily finally asked, gesturing to the sofa. Nathan came in fully and closed the door behind him. He sat at one end of the sofa, and Emily sat at the other end, keeping the maximum possible distance between them. "Katie told me that you and Michael had a fight," Nathan began. "Because of me. I'm sorry." "It wasn't because of you," Emily corrected, looking at her own hands. "It was because I never told him about you, about us. He said if I was still hiding parts of my past, then I wasn't ready to get married." "And is he right?" Emily looked up to face him. "I don't know. Maybe. Probably. Do you love him?" The question came out before Nathan could control himself. But now that it was out there, he needed to know the answer. Emily took a long time to respond. "I like him a lot. He's kind, patient, understanding. He makes me feel safe." "But do you love him?" Nathan insisted. "Not in the way that—" Emily stopped, biting her lip. "Not in the way I loved you." The words hung between them, loved, past tense, but still an admission of feeling. "And now?" Nathan asked. "Do you still feel anything for me? Is that fair?" Emily confronted him. "Asking me that? You show up out of nowhere after 6 years, turn my life upside down and expect me to have clear answers about my feelings? No. You're right. It's not fair." Nathan ran his hand through his hair, frustrated. "But I need to know, Emily. Because if there's any chance, no matter how small, that we could—" "Could what?" she interrupted. "Turn back time? Fix what broke? It doesn't work like that, Nathan. I know it doesn't work like that." He leaned forward, his hands clasped between his knees. "But we can start over, get to know each other again, see if there's still something between us. And Michael? What about Michael? I'm engaged to him, Nathan. I made a promise." "A promise you made 3 weeks ago to a man you've known for 3 months," Nathan pointed out, "versus 6 years of history between us." 6 years and 1 day, that changed everything," Emily replied bitterly. "Then give me the chance to change back," Nathan pleaded. "Or at least give me the chance to try." Emily got up from the couch and walked to the window, looking at the street below. Nathan could see the tension in her shoulders, the way she hugged herself, as if protecting herself. "Do you know why I agreed to go out with Michael?" she asked without turning around. "Because he was safe, predictable, no surprises, no drama. Exactly the opposite of what I had with you." "And does that make you happy?" Nathan asked softly. "Safety without passion. At least it doesn't hurt me. But it doesn't make you feel alive either." Nathan stood up and approached her, stopping a few steps away. "Emily, look at me." Slowly she turned around. There were tears in her eyes. but she didn't let them fall. "You still keep our photo on your nightstand," Nathan said, repeating what Katie had told him. "You still think of me every night before you sleep. That doesn't sound like someone who's moved on." "How do you know that?" Katie told me, he admitted. "She's worried about you. Thinks you're marrying Michael for the wrong reasons. She has no right." "She has every right," Nathan interrupted her. "She's your sister. She loves you. And she just wants you to be happy." "And you think you can make me happy?" Emily asked, her voice breaking. "After making me suffer so much?" "I don't know," Nathan answered honestly, "but I'd like to try, if you let me." Emily closed her eyes, tears finally escaping and rolling down her cheeks. Nathan instinctively reached out to wipe them away, but stopped halfway, unsure if he should touch her. "I'm so scared," Emily whispered. "So scared to trust you again and end up hurt." "I'm scared too," Nathan admitted. "Scared I won't be good enough this time. Scared to disappoint you, scared to lose you again." They stood there, inches apart, two broken hearts trying to find their way back to each other. "I need time," Emily finally said. "I need to think. I need to talk to Michael. I need to process all this." "How much time do you need?" "I don't know. Days, weeks, maybe months." She looked at him with pleading eyes. "Can you give me that time?" Nathan wanted to say no. He wanted to say they had already lost 6 years and couldn't waste another second. But he saw the vulnerability on her face, the real fear she was feeling, and knew he had to respect her boundaries. "I'll give you as much time as you need," he said. "But Emily, please don't marry him while you still have doubts. It's not fair to you or to him." She nodded slowly. "You're right. I need to be honest with him. He deserves that." "And you deserve to be happy," Nathan added. "Truly happy, not just safe." Emily smiled sadly. "When did you get so wise?" 6 years of loneliness give you a lot of time to think." He tried to joke, but it came out sadder than funny. There was a comfortable silence between them for a moment. Then Emily stepped back, putting distance between them again. "You should go," she said softly. "I have a lot to think about." Nathan nodded, picking up his backpack. "I'll go, but Emily—" He stopped at the door. "I'll be waiting, for as long as it takes." He left the apartment before she could answer, closing the door gently behind him. Only when he was back on the street walking aimlessly did Nathan allow the tears to fall, because for the first time in 6 years he had hope. Real, tangible hope that maybe, just maybe, they could have a second chance. Days turned into weeks. Nathan waited, as promised. He didn't try to contact Emily, didn't show up at her apartment, didn't seek her out. He just waited. It was torturous. Each passing day felt like an eternity. He compulsively checked his phone, waiting for a message that never came. He jumped every time the phone rang, only to be disappointed when it was a client or spam. 2 weeks after the conversation at the apartment, Katie called him. "Just wanted to let you know," she said without preamble. "Emily called off the engagement with Michael." Nathan felt as if all the air had been sucked from his lungs. "When?" 3 days ago. She gave back the ring and said it wasn't fair to him to move forward when she still had unresolved feelings for someone else. "How did he take it?" "Better than I expected, to be honest." Katie sighed. "He said he always knew her heart wasn't fully in the relationship, that he'd hoped with time she'd forget you, but that he now realizes some loves don't fade." "And how is she?" "Confused, scared, but also relieved, I think." Katie paused. "But Nathan, I need you to understand something. Just because she broke up with Michael doesn't mean she's ready to get back with you." "I know. She's still processing everything. She's still dealing with fears and insecurities. You're going to have to be patient." "I will. I promise," Nathan assured her. "Thanks for letting me know, Katie. Just don't let her down, okay? Because if you do, you'll have to deal with me, and I'm much scarier than I look." Nathan laughed, a genuine laugh for the first time in weeks. "I believe you." Another week passed, and then, finally, Nathan received a message from Emily. "Are you free Saturday afternoon?" His hands trembled as he typed the reply. "I am. What do you have in mind? I was thinking maybe we could meet up. Talk. For real this time. Where? There was a long pause before the next message. At Harmony Park. At 3 in the afternoon, if you're willing. Nathan looked at the message for a long time. Harmony Park. The place where it all began. The place where it all fell apart. And now, possibly, the place where it could all start again. I'll be there. Saturday arrived slower than Nathan ever thought possible. He woke up too early and spent the entire morning nervous, unable to do anything productive. He changed clothes 4 times before settling on jeans and a light blue shirt that Emily always said was her favorite color on him. He arrived at the park at 2:30, half an hour early. Harmony Park was full of families enjoying the sunny Saturday. Children ran between the playgrounds, parents chased after them, street vendors offered cotton candy and popcorn. Nathan walked to the spot where he was supposed to have met Emily 6 years ago. The cotton candy stall was still there now with a new owner. The bench where she had waited for him was still there too, a bit more worn by time. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. You're early. Nathan turned and saw Emily standing a few feet away. She wore a simple cream-colored dress and had her hair down, exactly as he remembered. But there was something different about her, a calmness that wasn't there before. I didn't want to be late, he said with a half-smile. Funny, she returned the smile, stepping closer. I thought the same thing. They stood there just a few steps apart, the noise of the park around them fading until all Nathan could hear was the sound of his own heart beating. Thank you for coming, Emily finally said. Thank you for inviting me. There was a brief silence, not exactly uncomfortable, but filled with anticipation. Do you want to walk? Emily suggested. Of course. They began walking side by side, keeping a careful distance between them. They passed the game booth where Nathan had won a stuffed bear for Emily on their second date. They passed the small roller coaster, where Emily had screamed so much she lost her voice. Every place brought back memories, some sweet, some bittersweet. I came here, Emily said suddenly. Every year, on the anniversary of that day, I come and sit on that bench for exactly 1 hour. Nathan looked at her, surprised. Really? Really? She nodded. At first, I didn't know why. Maybe hoping you would show up, maybe punishing myself. But over time, it became a sort of ritual, a way to remember. Remember what? That I was once capable of loving completely, without fear, without reservations. Emily looked at him. That once, someone loved me the same way. Nathan stopped walking, and Emily stopped too. I never stopped loving you, he said, his voice firm despite the emotion. Not for a single day, Emily. You were the first thing I thought of when I woke up, and the last before I fell asleep. Every woman I met, I compared to you. Every relationship I tried to have failed because none of them were you. Emily had tears in her eyes, but this time she was smiling. I came here too, Nathan continued, every year, but at different times. I would arrive at 4 in the afternoon and stay until the park closed, wondering if you were somewhere nearby, if our paths almost crossed without us knowing. We were an hour apart, Emily laughed through her tears. Literally. Seems fitting, Nathan smiled sadly. Our whole story's about bad timing and near misses. They continued walking until they reached the Ferris wheel. The same Ferris wheel where Nathan had gotten stuck. The same one where they had their first kiss. Are you still afraid? Emily asked, looking at the tall structure. Afraid of what? Of elevators, of getting stuck. You said you developed claustrophobia. Oh. Nathan had forgotten he'd mentioned that. Yes, I still am. I avoid elevators when I can. I always take the stairs, even if it's the 10th floor. I developed phobias too, Emily admitted. Fear of waiting, fear of trusting, fear that good things are too good to last. They looked at each other. We're quite a pair, aren't we? Nathan tried to joke. 2 broken hearts trying to mend. Emily agreed. A family passed by them, parents with 3 small children, all laughing and eating cotton candy. Nathan and Emily watched in silence. "I was so scared when I saw you at that diner," Emily confessed. "For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. That my brain had finally gotten tired of imagining you and decided to project you into reality." "I thought I was dreaming too," Nathan admitted, "especially when I saw Lily. For one crazy second I thought she might be—" "Our daughter," Emily finished, and Nathan nodded sheepishly. "I understand. She's the right age. But no, she's Katie's daughter, and my goddaughter, the most special child I've ever known. She seems amazing." "She is." Emily's face lit up, talking about her niece. "She has a way of seeing the world that's so pure, so free of prejudice. She's taught me a lot about accepting things as they are, about finding joy in the small moments." "Do you work as her caregiver?" "During the week, yes. Katie is a manager at a clothing store and works long hours, so I take care of Lily, take her to special school, to therapies. It's tiring sometimes, but it's also the best part of my day." "And Michael? Did he support you in that?" Emily made a face. "Michael thought I should focus on my own career instead of taking care of my niece. He didn't understand why I dedicated so much time to her." "He seemed possessive," Emily offered. "He was, he is. He has a good heart, but he has deep insecurities. I think he always felt my heart wasn't completely with him." "And was it?" Emily stopped walking and looked directly at Nathan. "No, it never was, because a part of me always remained stuck on that day 6 years ago, waiting for you." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. "So where does that leave us?" Nathan asked softly. "Now? Today?" "Honestly, I don't know," Emily replied. "I know I still feel something for you. Something strong. But I also know I'm not the same person I was 6 years ago, and neither are you." "Maybe that's a good thing," Nathan suggested. "Maybe we needed to change to be ready for each other." "Or maybe we've changed so much we don't fit together anymore," Emily countered, but there was a small hope in her voice that contradicted her words. Nathan reached out his hand, and after a moment of hesitation, Emily took it. It was like completing a circuit. Nathan felt an electric current run up his arm at her touch. "I have an idea," he said, "and you can say no, but I wanted to at least suggest it." "What is it?" "Let's ride the Ferris wheel." Emily's eyes widened. "Are you kidding? You're claustrophobic and I have panic attacks. That's a recipe for disaster." "Or it's a way to face our fears together," Nathan argued. "To turn the place of our greatest pain into something new, something of our own." Emily looked at the Ferris wheel, then back at Nathan. He could see the internal struggle happening inside her. "We don't have to do this," he added quickly. "It was just an idea." "No," Emily squeezed his hand. "You're right. We need to do this. For ourselves. To prove that day no longer has power over us." They walked to the Ferris wheel line, their hands still intertwined. Nathan could feel Emily's hand trembling slightly, but she didn't pull away. The line moved quickly. Soon they were at the front, and the attendant, a bored-looking young man, opened the door of one of the gondolas for them. Nathan got on first, then reached out his hand to help Emily. She got on, and as soon as she sat down, he saw the color drain from her face. "Are you okay?" he asked, concerned. "Just give me a minute." Emily closed her eyes, breathing deeply. The wheel began to move, taking them upward. Nathan watched Emily carefully, ready to ask the attendant to stop them if she had an attack. But although she was clearly uncomfortable, she kept her eyes closed and continued breathing deeply, counting softly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nathan recognized the breathing technique therapists teach to control panic attacks. He began counting along with her. 5, 6, 7, 8. Their voices blended, creating a strange but comforting harmony. When the gondola reached the top, stopping momentarily to allow more people to board below, Emily finally opened her eyes. The view was spectacular. The city of New York stretched out in all directions, a sea of buildings and trees under the afternoon sun. From up here, problems seemed smaller. The hurts more distant, "It's beautiful," Emily whispered. "You're beautiful," Nathan replied without thinking. She turned to look at him, and for the first time since they had reunited, there was no fear in her eyes. Only possibility. "Nathan, You don't have to say anything," he interrupted. "Not yet. I just want you to know that I'm here. I'll be here for as long as you need." "What if I'm never ready?" she asked quietly. "What if the fear never completely goes away?" "Then we learn to live with the fear together," Nathan replied. "Because I'd rather have you scared than not have you at all." Emily smiled, and it was that smile Nathan remembered from his happiest memories, that smile that lit up her whole face, that made her eyes sparkle. "You were always good with words. I had 6 years to think about what I'd say if I had the chance." The wheel began to move again, descending slowly. Neither of them said anything, just enjoyed the moment, still holding hands. When the cabin stopped at the bottom and the attendant opened the door, they stepped out together. Nathan waited until Emily had both feet firmly on the ground before letting go of her hand. "How do you feel?" "Proud," Emily answered with a smile. "Still scared, but proud. I did something I thought I'd never be able to do again." "You're stronger than you think." "We're stronger than we thought," she corrected. They walked back toward the park entrance, in no hurry, enjoying the afternoon together. They passed more places full of memories, but now those memories seemed less painful, almost nostalgic. "I was thinking," Emily said as they reached the main gate, "maybe we could do this again. Not necessarily here, but go out together, get to know each other again." Nathan felt hope blooming in his chest. "Like a fresh start." "Like a maybe," Emily answered honestly. "I can't promise anything right now, Nathan, but I want to try." Slowly. No pressure, no expectations beyond seeing where this takes us. "I'll take maybe," Nathan smiled. "I'll take anything that gives me a chance to be near you." They stopped near the exit, facing each other. People streamed past them in both directions, but Nathan was aware only of Emily. "Can I call you?" he asked. "Tomorrow to arrange our next date?" "I'd like that." Nathan started to step away, but Emily caught his arm. "Wait, there's one thing I need to know." "What is it?" "That day, in the park, were you really going to propose to me?" Nathan hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, I had the ring in my pocket and everything." "Do you still have the ring?" Another hesitation. Then Nathan put his hand in his pocket and took out his wallet. He opened the secret compartment and removed the small ring wrapped in tissue paper. Emily looked at the ring with wide eyes. "You kept it all these years?" "I could never bring myself to get rid of it," Nathan admitted. "It was my last connection to that day, to what might have been." Emily took the ring delicately, looking at the date engraved inside the band. "October 14th, 2019, she read aloud. "Our 1-year anniversary." "I had it all planned perfectly, or at least I thought I did." Emily looked from the ring to Nathan, tears shining in her eyes. "Can I keep it?" she asked. "Not to wear, at least not yet, but to hold on to, as a reminder that some things are worth waiting for." Nathan felt a lump form in his throat. He could only manage a nod. Emily carefully wrapped the ring back in the tissue paper and placed it in her purse. Then she stepped closer to Nathan and, rising on her toes, gave him a soft kiss on his cheek. "I'll call you tonight," she whispered, "so you know I got home safe." And then she was gone, disappearing into the crowd, leaving the park. Nathan stood there, one hand on the spot where she'd kissed him, a silly smile on his face. For the first time in 6 years, he felt something other than pain when thinking about Emily. He felt hope. The following months were an emotional roller coaster for Nathan. He and Emily began seeing each other regularly, always in public places, always casual. Coffee shops, museums, parks, places where they could talk without the pressure of a formal romantic date. At first, the conversations were careful, both tiptoeing around delicate topics, avoiding mentioning the more painful past. But gradually, As trust was rebuilt brick by brick, they began to open up more. Nathan told her about the years he spent searching for her, about the nights he lay awake wondering where she was, if she was happy, if she had found someone else. About the superficial relationships he tried to have, always ending when he realized he was looking for Emily in every woman. Emily, in turn, told him about her struggle with mental health, about the panic attacks that left her paralyzed, about the therapy she needed, about how Lily had been her salvation in many ways. The girl had forced her to leave the house, to interact with the world, to find joy again. "I was at rock bottom when Lily was born," Emily confessed one afternoon as they walked through Central Park. It was a cloudy November Saturday, and they had the path almost to themselves. "What do you mean?" "I was having daily attacks. I couldn't work. I could barely get out of bed. Katie was pregnant at the time and so worried about me it was affecting her pregnancy." Emily looked at the lake ahead of them. "So I made a promise to myself. When the baby was born, I would get better. I had to get better, because that child was going to need me. And you did it. Little by little, yes. It was a long process. It still is, actually. I still have bad days. Days when waking up seems impossible. But Lily gives me a reason to keep trying." Nathan took her hand as they walked. It was a gesture that had become natural between them in recent weeks. Not exactly romantic, but intimate in a way words couldn't express. "Have you ever thought about having children?" Emily asked suddenly. The question caught Nathan by surprise. Yes, I've always wanted to," he admitted. 2, maybe 3. A house full of noise and mess and love. "I wanted to too," Emily said softly. "I want to, I mean. But I'm afraid my mental health will affect my ability to be a good mother." "You're wonderful with Lily." "Lily has Katie. If I have a bad day, Katie is there. But if it were my own child—" "You wouldn't be alone," Nathan interrupted her. Then, realizing what he had said, he quickly added, "I mean, hypothetically. If you had children, you would have a partner who would support you." Emily smiled, noticing his discomfort. Hypothetically, of course. But there was something in her eyes, a spark of possibility that made Nathan's heart beat faster. They continued walking in comfortable silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Nathan couldn't help but imagine a house, children, Emily by his side. It was a dream he had long buried. But now, walking with her under the grey November sky, he let that dream resurface. Cautiously, afraid of breaking it, but still allowing it to exist. "My therapist thinks I should tell you something," Emily said after a while. "You're still in therapy?" "Every week," she confirmed. "It's part of the reason I'm able to handle all this, with you back in my life, without having a complete breakdown." "And what does your therapist think you should tell me?" Emily stopped walking and turned to face him. "She thinks I never fully forgave you, that there's still a part of me that holds resentment for what happened, even though I know it was an accident." Nathan felt as if he had been punched in the stomach. "And do you agree with her?" "I don't know." Emily answered honestly. "Rationally, I know it wasn't your fault, that it was a terrible accident that hurt us both, but emotionally—" She paused, searching for the right words. "Emotionally, there are still moments when I feel angry, when I think about everything we lost, everything we could have had." "That's fair," Nathan said, though the words stung. "It's completely fair for you to feel that way. But I don't want to feel it," Emily continued, tears forming. "I don't want to let the anger consume me. I don't want that day to define the rest of my life." "Then let's not let it." Nathan took both of her hands in his. "Let's build new memories, so many that eventually that day is just a footnote in our story." "Our story," Emily repeated, as if testing the words. "We have a story again?" "We're building one," Nathan corrected, "slowly, at our own pace." Emily smiled through her tears. "Slowly is good. Slowly I can handle." They started walking again, and Nathan noticed Emily had moved closer, their shoulders almost touching with every step. "Can I ask a question?" Nathan said after a while. "You told me about yourself, about Lily, about therapy. But what about your family, your mum, your dad? You never mention them. Emily's face closed off immediately. Oh, that... You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. No, it's okay, you deserve to know. She took a deep breath. My mum passed away 3 years ago, cancer. It was quick, painful. She was here in December and gone by March. Emily, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. How would you? She shrugged, but Nathan could see the pain in her eyes. It was one of the worst times of my life. Losing you, losing my mental grip, and then losing my mum. There was a point where I didn't think I could go on. But you did. Because of Katie and Lily. They kept me alive when I didn't want to be. Emily wiped away a tear. My dad, well, he reacted differently. He pulled away. He's living in Colorado now with his new wife. We talk at Christmas and birthdays, but it's all very surface level. That must be hard. Yeah, but I've learned you can't force people to be present in your life. All you can do is cherish those who choose to stay. Nathan squeezed her hand, a silent promise that he was one of those who chose to stay. They walked to a snack bar in the park and ordered hot chocolate. They sat at an outdoor table watching people pass by. Lily asked about you the other day, Emily said, blowing on her hot chocolate to cool it. She did? Yes. She wanted to know when the handsome man from the park was visiting again. Emily laughed. Apparently, you made a good impression. She's an amazing kid. It would be impossible not to like her. Would you like to... Emily hesitated. I mean, if you want, you could come over for dinner one day. Me, Katie, and Lily. Nothing formal. Just pizza and maybe a kids' movie. Nathan felt his heart warm. I'd love that. How about next Saturday? Next Saturday is perfect. They stayed at the snack bar until the sun began to set, talking about everything and nothing. Nathan told her about a new project he was working on, a logo for a sustainable tech company. Emily told him about a specialized first aid course she was taking to better care for Lily. When they finally left the park, it was dark. Nathan insisted on calling a ride for Emily. I can take the subway, she protested. I know you can, but let me do this, for my own peace of mind. Emily didn't argue further. When the car arrived, she turned to Nathan before getting in. Today was good, she said simply. It was. He agreed. There was a moment where they just stood there, looking at each other. Nathan saw when Emily leaned slightly toward him, as if considering kissing him, but then she seemed to think better of it and just gently touched his face. See you Saturday. See you Saturday. Nathan watched the car drive away, carrying Emily with it. Only when the taillights had completely disappeared did he start walking home. The days until Saturday seemed to drag. Nathan found himself counting the hours, constantly checking his phone for messages from Emily. They exchanged texts during the day, nothing too deep, just little shared moments. A photo of a funny cat Emily saw on the street, a meme Nathan thought she'd like. They were small things, but it was these small things that were building something bigger. When Saturday finally arrived, Nathan spent an hour deciding what to wear. He wanted to look casual but not sloppy, interested but not trying too hard. He ended up deciding on dark jeans and a navy blue button-down shirt rolled up at the elbows. He bought flowers on the way, white daisies, because he remembered Emily always said they were her favorite. The apartment where Katie and Lily lived was in Astoria, in the northern part of the city. It was bigger than Emily's, with 2 bedrooms and a spacious living room. When Nathan rang the bell, it was Lily who answered the intercom. "It's the handsome man," he heard the girl shout excitedly. "Auntie, he brought flowers." Nathan couldn't help but smile. Katie opened the apartment door with a welcoming smile. "Come in, Nathan. Sorry for the mess. Lily was having a creative afternoon." Mess was an understatement. The living room was covered in paper, crayons, modeling clay. In the middle of the chaos, Lily was sitting with a coloring book, her tongue sticking out in concentration. "Hi." She jumped up when she saw Nathan. "You came. Auntie said you were coming, but I thought she was joking." "Of course I came." Nathan crouched down to her level. "Do you think I'd miss a chance to spend time with you?" Lily laughed, a loud, uninhibited laugh that made Nathan smile even more. Do you want to color with me? I'm making a unicorn, but I don't know what color to make the horn. Lily, let Nathan breathe first. Emily appeared from the kitchen, wearing an apron with flour on her face. Hi. Hi. Nathan held out the flowers. I brought these for you. Emily took the daisies with a smile that lit up her whole face. You remembered. I remember everything about you. There was a moment where their eyes met and held contact, a current of emotion passing between them. It was Katie who broke the spell. Okay, enough standing there looking at each other. Nathan, do you drink beer? I have some chilling. Beer would be great. While Emily put the flowers in an improvised vase, Nathan joined Lily on the floor and started helping her color. The girl talked non-stop, telling him about her school, her friends, her teacher who had a dog named Buddy. And you know what else? Lily said, leaning close to Nathan as if to tell a secret. Auntie Emily gets really happy when she talks about you. She smiles differently. Nathan looked at Emily, who was clearly pretending not to have heard, while stirring something on the stove. Really? Yes, Lily confirmed seriously. It's like when Mommy talks about Daddy who lives in heaven. Happy and sad at the same time. Katie came over and picked Lily up. Come on, sweetie, let's wash your hands for dinner. You're all colorful. When they left the room, Nathan got up and walked to the kitchen, where Emily was finishing what looked like a homemade tomato sauce. You cooked? He asked, surprised. I thought it was just pizza. I changed my mind, Emily replied without looking at him. I thought it would be nice to make something special. Smells amazing. It's spaghetti carbonara, your favorite food, or at least it used to be. It still is. Nathan moved closer. You remembered. I remember everything about you, too. She finally looked at him, and there was something vulnerable in her gaze. Even when I tried to forget, I remembered. They stood there, just inches apart, the sound of the sauce bubbling the only thing breaking the silence. Can I ask you something? Nathan said softly. Of course. Why did you invite me here? Really? Emily turned off the stove and turned completely to face him. Because I wanted you to meet my family. Because Lily and Katie are the most important people in my life. And if you're going to... She stopped, biting her lip. If I'm going to what? If you're going to be part of my life, you need to be part of theirs too. Emily finished in a whisper. Nathan felt his heart speed up. Be part of your life. That sounds like more than just taking it slow. Maybe it is, Emily admitted. Maybe I'm tired of taking it slow. Maybe I'm ready to... But she was interrupted by the sound of Lily and Katie returning. Katie gave them a knowing look, clearly aware she had interrupted something. Sorry, she said, not looking sorry at all. The table is set. Can we have dinner? Dinner was chaotic in a lovely way. Lily insisted on sitting next to Nathan and spent the whole meal telling stories, asking questions, and occasionally taking food from his plate when she thought no one was looking. Katie and Emily exchanged meaningful looks across the table, and Nathan could feel he was being evaluated, but in a good way, as if they were checking if he was fit to be part of the family. After dinner, they settled on the couch to watch a Pixar movie that Lily had chosen. The little girl snuggled between Nathan and Emily, one hand holding each of them. Halfway through the movie, Lily fell asleep, her head resting on Nathan's arm. Katie gently picked her up and carried her to the bedroom. She loves you, Emily said softly. I haven't seen her get attached to someone so quickly since, well, ever. She's easy to love, Nathan replied, looking toward the hallway where Katie had disappeared with Lily. You're lucky to have her in your life. I am, Emily agreed. Then, after a moment, she added, Nathan, about what I was going to say in the kitchen. You don't have to explain. But I want to. She turned on the couch to face him. I've spent the last few months being afraid. Afraid to trust, afraid to open up, afraid to get hurt again. But today, seeing you with Lily, seeing you here with my family, I realized something. What? That the fear of losing you again is greater than the fear of getting hurt. Emily took his hand. I don't want to take it slow anymore, Nathan. I want to really try. I want to see if we can be what we were, or even better, what we can become." Nathan felt tears sting his eyes. He had waited 6 years to hear those words. "Are you sure?" he asked, needing to be absolutely certain. "Because if we're going to do this, I need to know you're ready. I won't survive losing you again." "I'm sure," Emily replied firmly, "or at least as sure as I can be. I'll still have bad days. I'll still have moments of panic, but I want to face them with you by my side." Nathan couldn't hold back any longer. He leaned in and for the first time in 6 years kissed Emily. It was different than he remembered, sweeter, more deliberate. It didn't have the inexperienced urgency of their first kiss, but there was something deeper, a promise, a new beginning. When they pulled apart, both were crying. "I never stopped loving you," Nathan whispered. "Not for a second." "Neither did I," Emily admitted. "Even when I wanted to, even when I tried, I never could." They stayed there, hugging on the couch, until Katie came back. She stopped at the living room door, seeing the two together, and smiled. Finally. That was all she said before discreetly withdrawing to her room. Nathan stayed late, talking with Emily about everything. About their fears, their hopes, their dreams for the future. They set boundaries, discussed expectations, were honest about their anxieties. When it was finally time to leave, Nathan didn't want to go. But he knew he had to respect Emily's space, give her time to process everything. At the door, she kissed him again, quicker this time, but no less meaningful. "I'll call you tomorrow," she asked. "I'm counting on it." Nathan went home on cloud 9. He entered the apartment and for the first time in years looked around and thought about how he could make it a home. Because now there was the possibility that it wouldn't always be just him there. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out now continuing. The following months were the happiest of Nathan's life. He and Emily started dating officially, and although it had its challenges, it was also wonderful. Emily had panic attacks a few times, and Nathan learned to recognize the signs, learned the breathing techniques, learned when to give space and when to hold tight. He had his own moments of claustrophobia, and Emily was always there, patient and understanding. They became part of each other's routines. Nathan started showing up at Saturday dinners regularly. Lily adopted him as Uncle Nathan and insisted he join in all her adventures. Katie joked that she was losing her sister again, but it was clear she was happy for them. In March, 6 months after the reunion, Nathan invited Emily for a weekend at the beach. She hesitated at first, nervous about traveling together, but eventually agreed. They went to the Hamptons, rented a small house near the beach. It was a perfect weekend. Walks on the sand, romantic dinners, conversations that lasted until the early hours. On the last night, while walking on the beach under the moonlight, Emily said something that made Nathan stop. "I've forgiven you." He turned to look at her. "What?" "For that day, for the Ferris wheel, for everything." Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling. "I've completely forgiven you. And more importantly, I've forgiven myself for holding on to that pain for so long." Nathan pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. "Thank you," was all he could say. "No, thank you." Emily looked at him. "For never giving up. For continuing to look for me even when it seemed impossible. For giving me the chance to love again." They stayed there on the beach until late, just enjoying each other's company, the sound of the waves breaking in the background. When they returned to New York City, there was a lightness between them that hadn't been there before, as if a weight had finally been lifted. Nathan started spending more nights at Emily's apartment. They kept their own apartments, but the line between the two spaces began to blur. His toothbrush at her place, her clothes in his closet. In June, almost a year after the reunion, they were having a normal dinner when Katie made an unexpected proposal. "Have you two thought about living together?" Emily almost spat out the water she was drinking. "What? You practically live together already," Katie pointed out, "and I was thinking of looking for a bigger apartment now that Lily is growing up. You could keep this one if you want." Nathan and Emily looked at each other. It was a big step, but it also felt natural. "We can think about it," Emily said cautiously. "Or," Nathan interrupted, "we could look for a new place, our own place, without old memories, without associations, just ours." Emily smiled slowly. "Our own place," she repeated. "I like that." They started looking for apartments the following weekend. It was fun, imagining what it would be like to build a home together, discussing which furniture to buy, how to decorate, where Nathan's office would be. It took 3 months, but eventually they found the perfect place. A 2-bedroom apartment in West Village, with a small but charming balcony, and plenty of natural light. Moving day was chaotic but joyful. Katie and Lily came to help, as did some friends. Boxes scattered everywhere, furniture being assembled, laughter and jokes. At night, when everyone had left and it was just Nathan and Emily surrounded by boxes in the new apartment, they sat on the floor of the empty living room. "We did it," Emily said, looking around. "We really did it." "Did what?" "Rebuild, start over." She looked at him. 6 years ago, I never would have imagined we'd get here." "I never stopped imagining," Nathan admitted. "Even when it seemed impossible, I imagined." Emily leaned in and kissed him, long and deep. "I love you," she said when they parted. "I know I've said it before, but I need you to know. I love you completely, without reservations, without fear." "I love you too," Nathan replied. "Always have, always will." They spent their first night in the new apartment sleeping on an air mattress surrounded by boxes. But for Nathan it was perfect, because he was with Emily, and that was all he ever wanted. The months turned into years. Nathan and Emily built a life together. They had their ups and downs, like any relationship. There were arguments about money, about space, about little daily annoyances. But through it all, they always came back to each other. They always communicated. They always remembered how hard they had fought to be together. Lily became an integral part of their lives. She spent weekends with them, and Nathan took her to her appointments when Katie and Emily needed. He taught her how to ride a bike, how to make a kite, how to play video games. "She loves you like a father," Emily said one night as they watched Nathan help Lily with her homework. "You know that, right?" "And I love her like a daughter," Nathan replied. "She's amazing. You would be a wonderful father." Nathan looked at Emily, sensing the weight behind her words. Are we ready for that conversation?" "We've been together for 2 years, living together for 1.5 years. Emily moved closer to him. "And I am completely in love with you. So yes, I think we're ready for that conversation." They started trying. It wasn't a decision made lightly. Emily consulted her therapist, talked to doctors about how her mental health might affect a pregnancy. Nathan did his own research, wanting to be prepared. It took 6 months until it finally happened. Emily took the test on a Friday morning while Nathan was sleeping. When he woke up, she was sitting on the edge of the bed, tears streaming down her face, holding a pregnancy test. "We're going to have a baby," she whispered. Nathan sat up so fast he got dizzy. He took the test, saw the 2 lines, and started crying too. "A baby," he repeated, amazed. "We're going to have a baby." They hugged, crying tears of joy. After everything they had been through, all the pain and suffering, they would finally have their family. The pregnancy was difficult. Emily had severe morning sickness in the first months. Her anxiety attacks increased, fueled by hormones and the fear of not being a good mother. But Nathan was always there, holding her hair when she threw up, doing breathing techniques with her during the attacks, reminding her that she was strong, that she was capable, that they would do this together. Lily was extremely excited when she found out she would be a cousin. She insisted on talking to Emily's belly every night, telling stories to the baby. "The baby needs to know they have a cousin who will protect them," she said with complete seriousness. Katie wouldn't stop joking about how she had been the first to have a child, but that Emily was doing better in the romance department. In October, 3 years after their reunion, Emily went into labor. Nathan had never felt so scared in his entire life. Seeing Emily in pain, knowing there was nothing he could do but be there, was torturous. But then after 12 hours of labor, they heard it, the baby's cry. "It's a girl," the doctor announced. A girl. They had a daughter. When they placed the baby in Emily's arms for the first time, Nathan saw all the fear, all the anxiety melt from her face. She looked at their daughter with a love so pure, so absolute, that it made Nathan cry. "Hi, little one," Emily whispered. "We've waited so long for you." They named her Olivia Wilson Parker, and she was perfect. The first few months were exhausting. Sleepless nights, endless diapers, learning to read Olivia's cries. But through it all, Nathan and Emily worked as a team. When Olivia smiled for the first time, it was at Nathan. When she took her first step, it was toward Emily. When she said her first word, it was Daddy, and Nathan cried. Lily was the most dedicated cousin anyone could ask for. She helped with Olivia whenever she visited, sang to her, played with her. The two had a special bond, and it was beautiful to watch. When Olivia turned 1, Nathan decided it was time to take the final step he had planned almost 8 years ago. It was October 14th, exactly 7 years since that fateful day in the park. But instead of being a day of sadness, Nathan decided to transform it into something new. He planned everything carefully, asked Katie to look after Olivia, told Emily he wanted to do something special for Olivia's first birthday. "Where are we going?" Emily asked as they drove. "You'll see," Nathan smiled mysteriously. When they parked and Emily saw where they were, she looked at Nathan with wide eyes. "Harmony Park." "I wanted to turn this place into something good for us," Nathan explained, "to take away the power that bad day had over our lives." They entered the park holding hands. Nathan guided Emily along the familiar paths until they reached the Ferris wheel. "Nathan, what are we doing here? Trust me." Emily looked into his eyes and saw all the love, all the devotion he felt for her. "Always." They entered the Ferris wheel cabin, the same one where everything had fallen apart, the same one where they had confronted their fears together years ago. As they rose, Nathan took Emily's hands. 7 years ago I had planned this moment. I had planned to get here to the top and ask you an important question. Tears were already forming in Emily's eyes. "And then everything went wrong," Nathan continued, "and we lost 6 years together. 6 years we'll never get back. But you know what? I wouldn't change a thing." "No?" "No. Because those 6 years shaped us. They made us into the people we are today. And the people we are today are perfect for each other." The cabin reached the top and stopped. "So, I want to ask the question I should have asked 7 years ago." Nathan knelt down, as best he could in the small space of the cabin, and pulled out a small velvet box from his pocket. "Emily Wilson, love of my life, mother of my daughter, my best friend, will you marry me?" Emily was openly crying now. She pulled Nathan to his feet and kissed him deeply. "Yes, yes, yes, 1,000 times yes," she said against his lips. Nathan slid the ring onto her finger. It wasn't the same ring he had bought 7 years earlier. That one was kept in a special box at home, a memento of the past. This one was new, chosen especially for the present. When the Ferris wheel brought them back down, they were engaged. And this time, there were no misunderstandings, no electrical failures, nothing but pure and complete love. They married 6 months later, in a small but beautiful ceremony in Katie's garden. Lily was the maid of honor. Olivia was in her paternal grandmother's arms, who had made peace with Emily after her granddaughter's birth. When it was time for the vows, Nathan and Emily had written their own. "Emily," Nathan began, his voice trembling with emotion, "we've had a winding path. There was pain, there was suffering, there were moments when it seemed we would never find each other again. But through it all, I never stopped loving you. And today, in front of our family and friends, I promise to keep loving you. On the good days and the bad, through panic attacks and moments of claustrophobia, I promise to stand by your side, to be your partner, your support, your love, today and always." "Nathan," Emily wiped her tears before starting, "you taught me that it's possible to start over, that some loves are strong enough to survive time and distance. You showed me that it's worth being afraid if it means having the chance to love truly. I promise to trust you. I promise to communicate when I'm scared. I promise to build a beautiful life with you, raise our daughter with you, grow old with you. Today, I choose you. And I will keep choosing you every day for the rest of my life." There wasn't a dry eye at the ceremony. Even Lily was wiping away tears, though she probably didn't fully understand the meaning of the moment. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant announced. "You may kiss the bride." And Nathan kissed Emily, sealing not just their marriage, but years of journey, of pain transformed into growth, of love that survived the impossible. The reception was joyful and full of life. There was dancing, delicious food, emotional speeches. Katie made a toast about how she had seen her sister at rock bottom and witnessed her rise back to happiness. To Nathan and Emily, Katie raised her glass, who proved that true love is worth waiting for. When the night was ending and most guests had left, Nathan and Emily found themselves alone in the garden, just watching the stars. "We made it," Emily whispered, resting her head on his shoulder. "After everything, we really made it." "We did," Nathan agreed, kissing the top of her head, "and this is just the beginning." Years passed. Olivia grew, going from a crying baby to a curious and intelligent child. She had her mother's eyes and her father's smile, and was absolutely adored by everyone. When Olivia was 5, Nathan and Emily decided to have another child. This time, it was easier. The pregnancy was smooth, and 9 months later, Ethan was born. Ethan was calmer than Olivia had been, a happy baby who slept through the night and rarely cried. Olivia adored him, taking the role of big sister with all seriousness. "You need to take care of him," Lily, now a teenager, instructed Olivia. "Like I took care of you." The family grew, expanded, evolved. Nathan opened his own design company, which flourished quickly. Emily returned to school, taking a course in child psychology, specializing in children with special needs. They moved to a bigger house when the children grew older, a house with a backyard where Olivia and Ethan could play. They adopted a dog named Buddy that the children loved. There were challenges, of course. It wasn't always easy. Olivia went through a difficult phase when she was 8 years old, having frequent nightmares. Ethan broke his arm when he was 6, falling from a tree. Emily still had occasional panic attacks, especially when she was stressed. Nathan still avoided elevators when possible, but they handled everything together as they always had. Every year on October 14th, they returned to Harmony Park. It was tradition now. They rode the Ferris wheel, ate cotton candy, walked the same paths where they had reunited. The children loved it. For them, it was just a special day with their parents. They didn't know the full story yet, but one day they would. One day Nathan and Emily would tell Olivia and Ethan about that fateful day, about the 6 lost years, about how they found each other again. But for now, it was enough just to be together. Building memories, creating a life full of love. When Olivia turned 10, she asked an interesting question during the birthday dinner. "Daddy, how did you know Mommy was the right person for you?" Nathan looked at Emily, who smiled, curious to hear the answer. "Because even when everything went wrong, even when we spent years apart, my heart never doubted," Nathan replied, taking Emily's hand on the table. "When you find the right person, you just know, even through the pain, even through the distance." Olivia seemed satisfied with the answer, but Ethan, always the more practical one at 7, had another perspective. "I think you love each other because Mommy makes that chocolate cake that Daddy loves." Everyone laughed, and the tension of the emotional moment dissipated into family joy. But Olivia's question stayed with Nathan. That night, after the children went to sleep, he and Emily sat on the porch, enjoying the cool night air. "Do you ever regret it?" Emily asked suddenly. "Regret what?" "The 6 years we lost. Everything we could have had if that day hadn't happened." Nathan thought carefully before answering. "Sometimes I wonder what it would have been like if we had gotten married as planned, if Olivia had been born years earlier, if we hadn't gone through all that pain." He turned to look at her. "But then I think of the strength you gained overcoming your panic attacks, of the man I became while waiting for you, of the lessons we learned about communication, about forgiveness, about not taking anything for granted. He paused. So no, I don't regret it. Because those 6 years, as painful as they were, prepared us to value what we have now. Emily leaned in and kissed him softly. You always know what to say. I had plenty of time to think of the right words. They laughed, a light and comfortable sound that came from the intimacy of years together. In the following years, life continued its natural course. Lily finished high school and decided to study special education, inspired by her own experience. She visited often, bringing energy and joy to the house. Katie met someone, a widower named Richard, who had 2 teenage children. It was complicated sometimes blending the families, but they made it work, and seeing Katie happy again made Emily's heart sing. When Olivia was 12, she started asking more specific questions about her parents' story. Mummy, why do you go to the park every October 14th? She asked one afternoon while helping Emily make cookies. Emily realized it was time. The children were old enough to understand the full story. That night, with Olivia, Ethan, and even Lily present, she'd asked to be there when she knew the story would be told. Nathan and Emily finally shared everything. They told about meeting through volunteer work, about the first magical year together, about the wedding plans, and then about that day at the park. Dad got stuck on a Ferris wheel, Ethan asked, incredulous. For 3 hours, Nathan confirmed. And Mom waited and thought he didn't want to marry her anymore, Olivia added. Exactly, Emily replied. That's so sad. Lily, now 19 but still as emotional as ever, had tears in her eyes. They told them about the 6 years apart, about how Nathan searched for Emily, about Emily's panic attacks, about the day they reunited at the diner. So you were separated for 6 whole years because of a misunderstanding. Olivia seemed horrified by the concept. Sometimes life separates us from the people we love, Emily explained gently. But if the love is true, it finds a way back. It's like in the movies, Ethan exclaimed, but the real-life version. Better than the movies, Nathan smiled, because it's our story. After that night, Nathan noticed a change in the children. Olivia became more thoughtful, thinking more deeply about relationships and love. Ethan began to value family time more, realizing nothing was guaranteed. But it was Lily who had the strongest reaction. A few days later, she showed up at the apartment with a tall, shy young man. Aunt Emily, Uncle Nathan, this is Andrew, she announced. We've been dating for 6 months, but I was afraid to introduce him. But after hearing your story, I realized hiding the people we love is never the right answer. Andrew was an engineering student, kind and clearly in love with Lily. Nathan and Emily welcomed him with open arms. Your story gave me courage, Lily confided in Emily afterward, to believe that true love exists, even when it seems impossible. The years kept passing. Olivia entered her teenage years with all the expected rebellion. There were arguments about curfews, about friends, about school grades. But through it all, Nathan and Emily remembered to communicate, not just with Olivia, but with each other. We promised never to let misunderstandings separate us again, Emily would say whenever conflicts arose. So let's talk about it. And they did, about everything, without fear, without judgment. It was one of the greatest lessons they had learned from their separation. Ethan was easier to handle, at least for now. He was passionate about soccer and spent hours practicing in the backyard. Nathan took him to games on weekends, creating precious memories. When Nathan turned 40, Emily threw a surprise party. Everyone was there. Katie and Richard with their kids, Lily and Andrew, now engaged, co-workers, neighbors, the family they had built over the years. At the height of the party, Emily asked for everyone's attention. I'd like to make a toast, she began, raising her glass. To the man who never gave up on me, even when everything seemed lost. To the most dedicated father our children could have. To my best friend, my partner, my love. She looked directly at Nathan. You found me when I was lost. You loved me when I was hard to love. And you built a life with me that surpasses all my wildest dreams. Happy birthday, my love. Here's to 40 more years together. Nathan was openly crying now, not caring who saw. He pulled Emily into his arms and kissed her, to the applause and whistles of the guests. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "Today and always. Today and always," she echoed. Richard's kids, 15-year-old twins named Ryan and Hannah, watched everything with expressions of, "How embarrassing." "Adults are so cheesy," Ryan commented. "I think it's sweet," Olivia defended. "My parents are proof that true love exists." "Your dad got stuck on a Ferris wheel," Hannah pointed out. "That's not very romantic." "But he was going to propose to her," Olivia argued, "and even after 6 years apart, they found their way back to each other. That's so romantic." Lily, overhearing the conversation, smiled. The story of Nathan and Emily had become family legend, passed down as a reminder that true love perseveres. That night, after everyone had left and the children were asleep, Nathan and Emily cleaned up the party remnants together. 40 years, Nathan said thoughtfully. "Half my life is already gone." "And the best half is still to come," Emily replied, gathering dirty plates. "You think so?" "I'm sure of it," she smiled at him. "Because we'll spend it together." Nathan stopped what he was doing and pulled Emily into a slow dance in the middle of the messy kitchen without music. "What are you doing?" she laughed. "Creating another memory," he answered. "So when we're old and grey, we can remember the night we danced in the kitchen at 40. Emily rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "We're going to have many good memories, aren't we?" "Thousands of them," Nathan promised. And they did. The following years were filled with milestones and moments. Lily and Andrew married in a beautiful ceremony, and Nathan cried when Lily asked him and Emily to walk her down the aisle, since her own father wasn't very present. Olivia graduated high school with honors and decided to study medicine. She wanted to be a pediatrician, inspired by how the doctors cared for her when she had pneumonia at 8 years old. Ethan surprised everyone by developing an interest in music. He started playing guitar and wrote his own songs, many about family and love. Katie and Richard married in a simple backyard ceremony. Lily was the maid of honor again, and this time there were no tears, just pure joy. When Nathan was 45 and Emily 44, they received unexpected news. Emily was pregnant again. "How did this happen?" Emily asked the doctor, shocked. "I thought I was past that stage." "Surprises happen," the doctor smiled. "Congratulations." Telling the children was an interesting experience. Olivia, now 17, found it hilarious. "You're so old to have a baby," she laughed. "Thanks for the vote of confidence," Nathan said dryly, but he was smiling. Ethan, 13, had other concerns. "Does this mean I'll have to share my room?" "No, honey. We'll turn the office into a nursery," Emily assured. The pregnancy was more difficult this time. Emily was older. Her body didn't bounce back as easily. She needed bed rest for a few weeks, and Nathan took on much of the household responsibility. Olivia and Ethan helped more too, growing with the responsibility. Olivia cooked dinners after school. Ethan took over the laundry. It was a family team effort. In February, Grace was born, a tiny but healthy baby who had Nathan's green eyes and already an impressive head of dark hair. "She's perfect," Emily whispered, holding her daughter for the first time. "Like all our children," Nathan agreed, putting his arm around the family. Olivia and Ethan fell in love with their little sister immediately. Olivia held her with reverent care. Ethan sang his original songs to her. Lily visited almost every day, bringing gifts for her niece. And Katie joked that now it was Emily's turn to go through the sleepless nights she had endured with Lily. But even through the exhaustion, the stress of having a baby again after so long, Nathan and Emily were happy. Deeply, completely happy. One night, when Grace was 6 months old and finally sleeping for longer stretches, Nathan and Emily found themselves awake at 3 in the morning, checking if she was breathing like neurotic parents do. "Do you think we're too old for this?" Emily asked softly, watching their daughter sleep. "Probably," Nathan admitted. "But she's our last chance to get everything right from the start." "Do you think we messed up with Olivia and Ethan?" "No, they're amazing," Nathan assured her. "But with Grace we have the wisdom of experience, and we can give her all the lessons we've learned." Emily smiled. "Like never taking love for granted." "Exactly," They went back to bed, intertwining their fingers like they always did before falling asleep. "Nathan?" Emily said in the darkness. "Yes?" "Thank you for never giving up on me. Thank you for letting me find you again." The years with Grace were different from the years with Olivia and Ethan. Nathan and Emily were older parents, calmer, less stressed about the little things. They knew phases pass, challenges are temporary, everything is precious. Grace grew up in a house full of love. Her siblings spoiled her parents adored her extended family surrounded her with affection. When she was 3, Lily had her first child, a boy named Jacob. Grace and Jacob became inseparable, growing up almost like siblings. Olivia started medical school, studying hard but always making time to visit. She dated occasionally, but nothing serious. She said she was focused on her studies, but Nathan suspected she had high standards from seeing her parents' relationship. Ethan, now a full-fledged teenager, formed a band with friends. They played at local small bars, and although Nathan doubted they'd become famous, he went to every show, the proudest father in the audience. On October 14th, when Grace was 5, Nathan and Emily took her to Harmony Park for the first time, continuing the family tradition. "Why do we come here every year?" Grace asked, her little voice curious. Nathan and Emily looked at each other. It was time to tell the story again, this time to their youngest daughter. Sitting on a bench in the park with Grace between them, they told the story, simplified for her age but true in the important points. "So you were lost from each other?" Grace asked. "For a long time," Emily confirmed, "but you found each other again." "Yes, we did. And now you'll never get lost again?" Nathan picked Grace up. "Never again, Princess. We promise." They rode the Ferris wheel, the 3 of them together in the cabin. When they reached the top, Grace shouted with joy at the view. "It's so beautiful," she exclaimed. "Can we come here every year forever?" "Forever," Emily promised. And they kept the promise. Every October 14th, no matter what was happening, the family went to Harmony Park. Eventually, Olivia and Ethan brought their partners. Lily brought Jacob, and eventually other children she had. The park became the center of the family mythology, the place where everything began, ended, and began again. When Nathan turned 50, he received an unexpected gift. Ethan, now 18 and about to start music college, had written a song. "It's about you," Ethan said, nervous as he picked up his guitar. "About your story." And then he sang. A beautiful, melancholic song about lost and found love, about perseverance, about never giving up. When he finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. "Son, that was—" Nathan couldn't find the words. "Amazing," Emily finished, wiping tears. "It was absolutely amazing." "I wanted to capture your story," Ethan explained, "so that even when you're no longer here, people can hear and know that true love exists." Olivia recorded the performance on her phone and later posted it on social media with the parents' permission. To everyone's surprise, the song went viral. Thousands of people watched, commented, shared their own love stories. Ethan received offers from record labels, but decided to keep the song independent. For him, it wasn't about fame or money. It was about honoring his parents. The unexpected attention brought changes. Nathan and Emily started receiving messages from people across the country who had heard the story and felt inspired. A couple about to divorce decided to try therapy after hearing how Nathan and Emily overcame their challenges. A woman afraid to open herself to love again after heartbreak found courage in their story. "Our story is helping people," Emily said one night, reading the messages. "This is surreal. Our pain has become hope for others." Nathan reflected. Maybe this was the purpose. Maybe we needed to go through all that to be able to help other people now. They never sought the attention, but when it came, they used it well. They began giving occasional talks about relationships, communication, and overcoming trauma. Emily, with her background in child psychology, focused on how trauma can affect relationships and how to heal it. Nathan spoke about the importance of perseverance and forgiveness, but no matter how busy they became, they always prioritized family. Family dinners remained sacred. October 14th continued to be reserved for the park, and every night before bed they still intertwined their fingers. When Grace was 10, she announced she wanted to be a writer. "I'm going to write your story in a book," she declared, "so everyone can read it. When you grow up, if you still want to, we'll help you," Emily promised. And Grace didn't forget. Over the years, she took notes, asked for details, interviewed relatives. She was building the complete story. Olivia graduated from medical school and secured a residency in pediatrics. She met another resident, a kind man named William, and for the first time, Nathan saw his daughter truly in love. "He reminds me of you, Dad," Olivia confided. "The way he looks at me, listens to me, makes me feel safe. Then he's a good man," Nathan replied, emotional. Ethan earned a full scholarship to a prestigious music school. His band had broken up, but he was fine with that. He was focused on composition, on creating music that touched people. The house grew quieter with Olivia and Ethan gone, but Grace filled the space with her endless energy, her 1,000 questions, her vivid imagination. Lily had 2 more children, giving Jacob siblings. Her house was chaotic but full of love. Andrew became a successful engineer, and they built a stable life together. Katie and Richard retired, finally having time to travel and enjoy life. Richard's children were adults now, building their own lives. And through it all, Nathan and Emily remained the center, the rock, the example. When Nathan turned 55, he had a health scare, a mild heart attack that left him in the hospital for a week. It was terrifying for everyone, especially for Emily. "You can't leave me," she whispered, holding his hand in the hospital bed. "Not after everything we went through to be together." "I won't leave," Nathan promised, though he was scared too. "We still have many years ahead." And they did. With lifestyle changes, proper medication and regular checkups, Nathan recovered completely. But the scare served as a reminder of mortality, of the preciousness of every moment. They began to travel more, not big international trips, but outings around the United States. They visited beaches they had never seen before, historic towns, breathtaking landscapes, and in each place they created new memories. Grace went with them whenever possible, absorbing everything, turning experiences into stories she wrote in her notebooks. Olivia and William got married when she was 28. It was a beautiful ceremony on the coast, with their feet in the sand and the sound of waves in the background. When it was time for Olivia to walk down the aisle, she asked both of her parents to accompany her. "You both taught me what true love is," she said, one on each side. "Now I'm going to build my own with William." It was one of the happiest days of Nathan's life, seeing his daughter so radiant, so sure of her choice, knowing that she had learned from their mistakes and successes. Ethan brought a girlfriend home when he was 22, a violinist named Madison, as passionate about music as he was. They played together for hours, creating beautiful harmonies that filled the house. "I think she's the one," Ethan confided in Nathan. "She understands me in a way no one else does." "Then don't let her go," Nathan advised. "When you find someone special, you fight for it." And Ethan fought. He and Madison had their ups and downs, but they always came back to each other. Eventually, he proposed to her on stage after a concert, where they performed together. It was perfect for them. Grace entered her teenage years, bringing all the expected dramas. But she had observed her parents, her siblings, her family. She knew that communication was key, that honesty was essential, that love required work. When she had her first heartbreak at 16, it was Emily who comforted her. "It feels like the end of the world right now," Emily said, holding her daughter as she cried. "But I promise it will pass." "How do you know?" "Because I survived losing your father for 6 years. If I got through that, you can get through this." And Grace got through it, stronger and wiser. Their 60s arrived for Nathan and Emily. Graying hair, wrinkles around their eyes, bodies that didn't move as easily as before. But the love remained young. Lily was a grandmother now. Jacob had married early and had a daughter. Seeing Lily with her granddaughter, the same Lily that Emily had helped raise, was surreal and beautiful. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us, who are just starting out. Now continuing. On October 14th, the 20th anniversary of the day they reunited, Nathan planned something special. He rented out all of Harmony Park for one night. The whole family was there. Olivia and William with their 2 children, Ethan and Madison, now married, Grace, 18 years old and about to start journalism school, Lily with Andrew and all their children and now granddaughter, Katie and Richard, everyone. Nathan took Emily to the Ferris wheel, where it had all started decades ago. "What are you up to?" she asked, smiling. "You'll see." They rode up on the Ferris wheel, all their relatives watching from below. When they reached the top, Nathan pulled something from his pocket. It was the original ring, the one he had bought 23 years ago to propose to Emily, the one she had kept all those years. 23 years ago I rode this Ferris wheel planning to ask you to marry me," Nathan began, "and everything went terribly wrong." Emily was crying but smiling. "So today, 23 years later, 20 years married, 3 children, a lifetime of memories, I want to do it again." "Nathan, we're already married." "I know, but I want you to know that I would choose you again. Today, tomorrow, 23 years from now, I will always choose you." He opened the little box with the old ring. "So, Emily Wilson Parker, do you still want to be my wife?" "Always," she whispered. "Forever." He slid the vintage ring next to the modern wedding band she already wore, a symbol of past and present united. When they went downstairs, the whole family was waiting with champagne and juice for the younger ones. There were hugs, tears, laughter. "You two are so dramatic," Grace teased, but she was crying too. "It's genetic," Ethan replied. "You are too." The party went on into the night. There was music, dancing, stories shared. Olivia told how she used to eavesdrop on her parents' conversations about how they met. Ethan played the song he had written, everyone singing along. Grace read an excerpt from the book she was writing about the family's history. It was perfect, a full circle of love, family, and memories. Later, when everyone had left and it was just Nathan and Emily walking through the empty park under the lights, they stopped at the bench where Emily had waited so many years ago. "You know what's funny?" Emily said. "If you had shown up that day, if everything had gone as planned, we probably would have had a good life. Probably. But it wouldn't have been this life," she continued. "We wouldn't have learned the lessons we did. We wouldn't have the depth we have. We wouldn't have Grace." Nathan agreed. "It's strange to be grateful for something that was so painful. But are you grateful for what it brought us?" "Absolutely." Nathan turned to look at her under the soft glow of the park lights. "Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of pain was worth it to get us here." "Here," Emily repeated. 61 and 60 years old, grey hair, tired bodies, but more in love than ever. "You're still the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." "Liar," she laughed, "but a very charming liar." They walked back to the car hand in hand, their steps slower than they used to be, but no less steady. The following years were quieter. Grace went off to college, leaving the house empty for the first time since Olivia was born. Nathan and Emily adjusted to life with just the 2 of them again. It was strange at first, but also freeing. They could travel without worrying about school schedules. They could have romantic dinners whenever they wanted. They could just be a couple again, not just parents. Olivia had her 3rd child, a girl they named Emily after her grandmother. Nathan cried when he heard. Ethan and Madison moved to Los Angeles, where they got jobs with a symphony orchestra. It was far, but they visited whenever they could. Grace thrived in college. Her book about the family was taking shape, a senior project that her professor said had real publishing potential. Lily, now in her 40s, had become a marriage counselor. She said Nathan and Emily's story inspired her to help other couples find their way back to each other. Katie and Richard moved to the countryside, a small house near a lake. It was peaceful, perfect for retirement. And Nathan and Emily, they kept on living, loving, growing together. When Nathan turned 65, he officially retired. The design firm he had built was handed over to trusted partners. He still took on occasional work, but mostly enjoyed the free time. Emily had retired a year earlier, dedicating more time to volunteering. She worked with children with special needs, inspired by years of caring for Lily. They started taking classes together: Italian cooking, ballroom dancing, art history. They were older students but enthusiastic. "It's never too late to learn something new," Emily always said. On their daily morning walks, they talked about everything, about the grandchildren who were growing up too fast, about the changes in the world, about old memories and future plans. "Do you have any regrets?" Nathan asked one morning. "Looking back on our whole life together," Emily thought carefully, "I don't regret anything we did, but sometimes I regret the things we didn't do, places we didn't visit, risks we didn't take." "Then let's do them now," Nathan decided. "Let's make a list of everything we want to do and start checking them off." And they did. They traveled to places they'd always wanted to see: Hawaii, the Grand Canyon, White Sands National Park. Each trip was an adventure. Each shared experience strengthened the bond between them. When Emily turned 65, Grace published her book. It was called Found a True Love Story, and it told the complete story of Nathan and Emily, from the first meeting to the present. The launch was emotional. The whole family was there, proud. Grace dedicated the book to my parents, who taught me that true love is worth every weight. The book had moderate success. It wasn't a national bestseller, but it sold well enough. And the reviews that mattered most came from readers who said the story gave them hope. "Our story is now immortalized," Emily said, holding a copy of the book. "Even when we're no longer here, people will know we existed, that we loved each other, that we overcame." "Our legacy," Nathan agreed. But the true legacy wasn't in the book. It was in the 3 children they raised, who became kind and loving adults. In the grandchildren who were learning about love through their example. In the extended family that supported each other. Olivia followed in her parents' footsteps in terms of relationships. She and William communicated openly, resolved conflicts calmly, prioritized each other. They were building the same kind of lasting love. Ethan and Madison were partners in everything, in music, in life, in dreams. They had decided not to have children, focusing on their careers, and Nathan and Emily fully supported the decision. Grace found love in college, a literature teaching assistant named Christopher, a few years older. He was different from her in many ways, but they complemented each other perfectly. Nathan saw much of himself in how Christopher looked at Grace. The 70s arrived. Nathan and Emily were officially seniors now, though they didn't feel like it. They still had energy, still had dreams, love in abundance. October 14th remained sacred. Now 25 years since the reunion, 34 years since that fateful day. The family had grown so much they needed to rent an entire section of the park for everyone to fit. There were 14 grandchildren now, ranging from babies to teenagers. Seeing everyone together, playing, laughing, creating their own memories in the same park where it all began, filled Nathan with an emotion he couldn't name. "Our little misunderstanding created all this," Emily observed, watching the family. "All these lives, all these stories." "It was worth it," Nathan said simply. "Every second of the pain. Every second." That night, at the top of the Ferris wheel for the 25th time since the reunion, Nathan and Emily made a promise. "Another 25 years," Nathan declared. "At least." "At least," Emily agreed, "and then 25 more after that. Until death do us part." "Not even then," Emily smiled. "Because a love like ours transcends even that." They got off the Ferris wheel holding hands, steps slower, bodies more tired, but spirits as young as they'd ever been. The family waited for them below. Olivia with her children, Ethan with Madison, Grace with Christopher, now also engaged, Lily with her grown family, Katie and Richard, now in their 70s too. "Let's take a picture," someone shouted. It took 10 minutes to get everyone organized, the younger ones in front, the adults in the back, Nathan and Emily right in the center. The photographer counted to 3. The moment the camera clicked, Nathan looked at Emily. She was looking at the family, her face radiant with joy. And Nathan thought there was no more beautiful sight in the entire world. This was his life, not the one he had planned 7 decades ago, not the one he imagined during the 6 years apart, but a life that was perfectly imperfect, painfully beautiful, completely theirs. And he wouldn't change a single moment. The years continued their inevitable march. Nathan had another health scare at 72, but he recovered. Emily developed arthritis that made some days difficult, but she learned to cope. They moved to a ground-floor apartment with no stairs to challenge aging knees. It was smaller than the house, but perfect for the two of them, and it had a small garden where Emily grew roses, the same kind Nathan gave her when they were young. Grace married Christopher in an intimate ceremony. She was 5 months pregnant and radiant. Her second book, a collection of family stories, was being well received. Olivia became head of pediatrics at her hospital. She had a reputation for being tough but fair, and the children adored her. Her own children were growing up, the eldest considering medicine too. Ethan and Madison recorded an album together that earned critical acclaim. It didn't make them rich, but it brought artistic satisfaction. They were happy, and that was all that mattered. Lily had a thriving couples therapy practice. She often told her parents' story, with their permission, to couples who were struggling, as an example that love can overcome any obstacle. Katie and Richard were enjoying a quiet retirement. They fished, read, and had visits from their children and grandchildren. It was a simple but full life. And Nathan and Emily, they cherished each day as a gift, because they knew better than anyone how precious moments together are. On a rainy July afternoon, sitting on the sofa with a shared blanket, Emily said something she had been thinking about for days. "If you could go back," she began, "if you could change that day, do everything right from the start, would you?" Nathan didn't need to think. No. Even knowing we would save 6 years of pain? Especially because of that. Nathan turned to look at her. Because those 6 years changed us. They prepared us. They taught us to never take each other for granted. He took her hand, tracing the familiar lines and wrinkles. Every couple who marries young and happy thinks love is easy. But us? We know love is work. It's a choice. It's communication and commitment and forgiveness. And we choose it every day. Every day, Nathan confirmed, and I will keep choosing you until my last breath. Tears streamed down Emily's face. You always knew the right words to say. I had a lot of time to learn. They stayed there, holding each other as the rain fell outside. They didn't need words. After so many years, so many shared experiences, the silence between them was comfortable, full of mutual understanding. When Nathan was 75 and Emily 74, they decided to write letters to each of their children and grandchildren, not because they were sick or afraid of death, but because they wanted to leave their words of wisdom. To Olivia, they wrote about strength and compassion, about balancing career and family, about never losing sight of what really matters. To Ethan, about following his passion, about not worrying about the judgment of others, about finding joy in art. To Grace, about the power of words, about telling stories that matter, about using her gifts to make a difference. And for each grandchild, personalized messages about their unique talents, their special personalities, their limitless potential. They'll read this and think we're dying, Emily joked while sealing the envelopes. Or they'll read it and understand we're just prepared, Nathan responded. For when our time comes, they'll know exactly how we felt about them. The letters were stored in a special box with instructions to be delivered in the future. It was a gift for when they would be needed. October 14th came again, 28 years since the reunion. The park tradition continued, although Nathan and Emily now needed help walking long distances. But they still rode the Ferris wheel. They always would, they promised each other, as long as they were physically able. At the top, looking out at the city that had witnessed their entire story, Nathan made a comment. You know what I was thinking? What? That if that day had gone right, if I had proposed to you as planned, and you had said yes, we probably wouldn't be here now. Emily looked at him confused. What do you mean? We were so young, so inexperienced. We would have gotten married with unrealistic expectations. And when life got hard, as it inevitably does, maybe we wouldn't have had the tools to handle it. He pointed to the city below. But because we went through that separation, because we fought so hard to come back to each other, we value this. We know it's precious. We have the skills to weather any storm. So you're saying getting stuck on that Ferris wheel was the best thing that happened to us? Nathan laughed. It wasn't the best thing. It was terrible. But the consequences, the journey it led us on, that was the best thing. Emily rested her head on his shoulder. You have a very optimistic way of looking at trauma. It's just perspective. Nathan kissed the top of her head. And the perspective of 55 years of love. When they got off, the family was waiting with a surprise cake. It wasn't anyone's birthday, just a celebration of their love, of the family they had built. For Grandpa and Grandma, the grandchildren shouted, the best couple in the world. Nathan looked at Emily and saw his own feelings reflected in her eyes. Gratitude, love, pure joy. We really made it, she whispered. We did, he agreed. And there, surrounded by the family that was their greatest legacy, under the October sky that had witnessed so much of their story, Nathan and Emily shared a kiss. Not their first, nor their 1000th, but still special. Because every kiss with the person you truly love is special. Life continued its natural course. There were more births in the family, new marriages, achievements celebrated. There were also losses. Richard passed away at 77, leaving Katie devastated but surrounded by family love. But through it all, Nathan and Emily remained constant, the sun around which the family orbited, the example of lasting love, the proof that happily ever after isn't a fairy tale, but a daily choice. When Nathan was 78 on a quiet Sunday morning, he woke up before Emily as he always did. He watched her sleep, white hair spread on the pillow, deep wrinkles around her eyes, mouth slightly open. She was the most beautiful person he had ever seen. 61 years since they met, 55 since they separated, 28 since they reunited, 26 years married again, and he loved her more each day. Emily opened her eyes and caught him looking. "What is it?" she asked, her voice raspy with sleep. "Just enjoying the view." Nathan smiled. Silly old man. But she was smiling too. Your silly old man. Forever, my silly old man. They got up slowly, their bodies protesting, but their spirits light. They made coffee together in the small kitchen, a synchronized dance of decades of practice. They sat in the garden, enjoying the weak morning sun, each reading a section of the newspaper. And Nathan thought, this is happiness. Not grand gestures or dramatic moments, but these quiet ones. Shared coffee, comfortable silence, the presence of the person you love. That was all he had ever wanted. And finally, after a whole lifetime, he had it. End of story. And you, dear listener, what did you think of this love story that overcame time and distance? Leave in the comments which part touched your heart the most. Do you believe true love can survive any obstacle? Subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories and leave your like.